Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales is now streaming live on Fun Media at fun927.com and is always on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, and at tv5wrestling.com.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.
Hey, it's good old RH here. Hello again, everybody. I am Randy Hales, broadcasting from where the Randy Hales story began. This is Jonesboro, Arkansas. This is Randy Hales, and hello to Thomas and Greg and Calvin and all you great people that watch this show every single week. And today's show, you have me, Randy Hales, ready to rock and roll. And I have a big, huge announcement about this show coming up in just a few minutes. And we have today, not going to bring you in right this second, because I don't do it every week, but I have a first take. I have a first take coming up. Now, I am going to have Adam bring Pat on. I don't want Pat to talk right now. I just want Pat to be on the screen, because I want Pat to listen. And soon as I tell the first part of my first take, then Pat, it was a disaster. It was a near disaster. I want to tell you a little story. You can react to that. Do you want to hear about my near disaster? Do you want to hear, and you can talk, do you want to hear about, I thought I broke my freaking neck. I thought I put this show today in jeopardy. Would you like to hear that story?
I'd like to hear it, but I'm glad it didn't happen. But tell us about it.
You need that light on.
I do need that light on.
Pat just don't listen to me and Adam, because we told him at the start of this show, Pat, we got to have your light. Oh, it's too much light, too much light. Then he said, oh, that's better, when he turned it on. And then he turns the darn thing off. You look great. You look like the dashing young man you are. And I'll tell you this first take. But before I tell you this first take, man, you have something to look forward to today. I showed it last week. It's a 27-minute video. Several people, that late in the show, I saved it to that late in the show, and that was a mistake, because a lot of the audience, including Randy West, didn't see it. We have a fabulous conversation with Dave Brown from Tom Prestigiacomo, or whatever his name is, from FM 100, radio legend. That great interview will take place right now. We will replay it if you missed it. Even if you didn't miss it, it's one of the classic things of all time, Pat.
I'm looking forward to seeing it, but you're going to tell us your first take first.
It's called, you just don't understand television, Milking the Audience.
Ah, okay.
It's called Milking the Audience. This ain't my first cup of coffee at all in my life. I'm trying to set it up where these son of a guns will stay and not leave like they did last week. That's one thing I'm going to put the great conversation with Dave Brown on anyway. But now that Pat interrupted and screwed me up right now, I will tell that scoop, and I'm getting mileage out of it because we're 4 minutes into the show and I'm stretching this sucker out. I was at this computer, and it was Sunday night, and I was sitting here, and I was uploading all the video, all the pictures, typing. I don't think I got to my notes yet, but I did all the pictures and all that stuff, and the video is hard to do, Pat. It's really hard to do. I got a phone call from my friend Laura, who just happened to lose her mom last week, and I was trying to have a conversation with her and that sort of thing. Hey, Randy West, my buddy is in the house. So I was doing this, and I don't think I told Randy West this story. Frank Sneeden, what's going on? So I was talking to Laura. I picked my phone up because it was on speakerphone. I picked the phone up, and I walked to to my right and in front of my computer. Well, I have all my cables, Pat, in front of the thing, but I have rugs across it. Well, apparently,
Mhm.
when I walked in, I had kicked the rugs off. So when I was walking out, man, I freaking tripped. The phone went flying. I took a freaking hard ass big bump, but I'm a wrestling guy, and I went right to my knees. Went to my knees. Then I got up, didn't sell it. I came back to the computer, and guess what, Pat?
Yes.
There was no nothing, no picture, no nothing, nothing at all on this here monitor screen.
You
Nothing.
tripped
So
over
that
a
meant,
cord?
do what?
Did you trip over the cord?
Yeah, I tripped over the cord. So I got down on my knees and I found a cord that it came out. It's a HDML or whatever, MI or whatever the hell it is. And I picked it up and I plugged it into the HDM gimmick. I thought that was natural and nothing happened. It still didn't work. So I called my friend Laura, I think the next day, and she came over and she was smart enough to do something I didn't do. She typed in the problem on the old Google gimmick, Pat, on the Google
Uh-huh.
gimmick. And they told
Uh-huh.
her the graphic card gimmick to plug it in there. She did. And here we are. We have a show today. I knew this happened Sunday. This show was Tuesday. I knew my computer expert, my guy that handles all my computer issues, wasn't going to drive from Rome, Georgia to come here. Wasn't going to do it.
Well, I'm glad it was just an unplugged cable.
I
Which
am too. Last thing I want to say before we throw it the thing, folks, I have a huge announcement, and Pat doesn't even know this about the future of this show. This tonight is going to be the last Talking Memphis Wrestling of this year. This is
okay.
the last Talking Memphis Wrestling of this year. Obviously, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, all that kind of stuff. We will return on Tuesday, January the 6th with Talking Memphis Wrestling, and it's a thrill to death for the first time in a couple of weeks. He is right now saying a quick silent prayer, lifting it up for his family, for our family, for the Talking Memphis Wrestling family, and also the University of Alabama football team. Here for his first day, the pride of Birmingham, Alabama, the head dude of Talking Memphis Wrestling that keeps us from going insane. Ladies and gentlemen, with the official first take for the day is our pal, Pat freaking by God Trammell.
Thank you, Randy. It's just the best first take is it's good to be back. I've been traveling a lot. I think you guys know I agreed 10 years ago to keep the books for my son's basketball team when he was a ninth grader, and they've never let me go. So I've been doing that a little bit. I got to see Michael and I had lunch yesterday. He was in Birmingham, but it is so great to see everybody, and I hope everybody's getting ready for a great holiday. And that's sneaking up on us this year, but I'll get my number two back tomorrow, which I'm happy. She'll be home from school, and so hope everybody's doing well. And I've missed you all, and anxious to hear the Dave interview today.
All right, big show today. We also have Adam Dunn that'll pop in a little bit to get his feedback on the Dave Brown interview. Also, Pat, if there's anything that you learn new, and there's some stuff I actually learned new, we can talk over this thing. Just say, hey, pause the video, and we can pause it, and we can come back and talk about it for sure. This is just fascinating. Learn stuff, as I said, that I did not know. Some of you watched this last week. By the way, William Stone is in the house. Merry Christmas to you, man. Hope to see you sometime soon. This is a 26-minute plus interview. This is from WKNO Educational Public Television. A conversation with Dave Brown shortly after he retired from WNC. Here we go.
This program is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
There's a man.
Hi, welcome to A Conversation with Dave Brown. It's my pleasure to be your host. I'm Tom Prestigiacomo. Born in Trenton, Tennessee, and a career that lasted over 50 years, Dave Brown has gone through radio and television and endeared himself to people in Memphis and throughout West Tennessee, not just with his weather forecast, but the humanity that comes with the man. This guy has a superpower. Dave Brown can make milk and bread disappear from the shelves of Kroger or Cecil's like nobody else. Dave, it's good to have you here. Your weather predictions made people aware and made them just run out and prepare.
Two comments about that. One, how many people actually eat milk sandwiches?
Yeah.
and the second is, you mentioned Cecil's back in the day. Well, I got, we had a big 7-inch snow, which I had correctly predicted the night before. And I went out in the lobby that afternoon. Somebody said, somebody has brought something by for you. And there's this huge vase of red roses.
Right.
And I said, wow, I opened the card and it said, thanks, Art Cecil.
Isn't that a wonderful way to go, though? I mean, for you to, and let's start with Trenton, Tennessee. Let's just take it from the very basics. You grew up, how big was Trenton?
5,000 people, roughly.
Okay.
Small town, county seat of Gibson County up in northwest Tennessee. Wonderful town. I still have a home there today. I go up every chance I get.
Excellent.
And it's just an incredible town. It was a great village. That's something that came into politics a few years ago. From the it takes a village type thing. Well, that's kind of what that town was. Everybody knew everybody else. You didn't dare misbehave down the street because they would tell your mom before you got home. And it was just a very warm, loving place. Still is that way a great deal of the way. Also, it made it even more special. My dad died of a brain tumor when I was 10 years old. He and my mom both well loved and respected in that town, and the people just put their arms around us, and that great support, and also the fact that my dad was a great guy and had so many good friends. Even though he was gone, it was almost like my dad was still there as I was growing up. So it's a great town. I love it today.
And in a conversation we had, you said that you started to work when you were 10. Is that about right?
Well, I started to work when I was 10, yeah, with a paper route. Yeah.
So you've been in media all your life.
Well, yeah, sort of. I did take one brief time out. I thought my dad, when he was so sick, we spent a lot of time at the pharmacy because he was on so many medications. Right. And so I decided at one point I wanted to be a pharmacist. And that's probably what I would have pursued. But then at age 15, radio.
15, and how did that happen? You know, I mean.
Well, I fell in love with two things about age 12, Memphis and radio music. Now, I didn't realize how closely the two were connected at that age, but I loved listening to the radio, loved listening to rock and roll on the radio.
So what were your stations when you were growing up before you worked at your first station?
WHBQ in Memphis. And at night, we couldn't get it because they had to cut their power to protect the signal, a clear channel station out of Miami on the same frequency. So at night, WLS Chicago came roaring in. So those were the two, WHBQ in the day, WLS at night.
And your first job at 15 was at what station?
WKBJ in Milan, Tennessee. I was a sophomore in high school, and I saw a friend of mine who was working there, and I said, hey, this is great. You get paid for playing records. I play records for nothing at home. And I had to get my own sponsors. I think I had 6 or 7 sponsors that I got. And they paid for my show.
Right, you were on air and in sales.
Yeah.
That's just amazing.
I would never have been very successful in sales.
Oh, well, but you got enough sponsors to go.
Got enough sponsors to go.
What songs do you remember playing from that era? What year was that?
1962.
Okay.
And I remember things. One I remember in particular, I remember a lot. There was some great music for my money in those days. But one I remember particularly was a song that I thought was terrific because of the drum line in it. It was Sheila by Tommy Rowe.
I remember that.
It was a #1 hit. It hit #1 on my birthday, and I got to play it on the air on my own show on my birthday. I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. Herb Alpert, the Tijuana Brass, the Lonely Bull, one of his first big hits.
That's Telstar and Paul and Paula and all of those songs too.
You got it. All of those.
But you left there and then went to another station. In another city. After
about 6-7 months, something like that, I moved 11 miles away to Humboldt, Tennessee. No radio station in my hometown of Trenton at the time.
Right.
So I started in Milan, then moved to Humboldt, and I was over there for about a year and a half. The interesting thing there, the general manager's brother-in-law was a guy named Jack Parnell.
Oh my gosh.
Jack, who was one of my heroes at WHBQ. Jack and I got to be friends, and I remember calling him one night, and I said, look, I'm thinking of going to University of Missouri and study journalism. Right. He said, give it another thought. I said, what do you mean? He said, you should go to Memphis State, and you can major in whatever you want to, and you can work your way through at WHBQ.
Oh my.
Well, it was like, wow. I said, am I good enough to work at WHBQ? He said, yeah, you're good enough. And thanks to him, I was able to do that and work my way through college.
So you graduated from high school in Humboldt?
In Trenton.
In Trenton. Mm-hmm. And then you went from Trenton to Memphis.
To Memphis.
In 1960 what?
1964.
And you started there, and it's amazing that you carried a full-time air shift, right?
I was part-time at first.
Okay.
I think about the first year and a half I was part-time. Then I went full-time. So I was going to school full-time in the daytime and working full-time.
Were they always on Highland?
Yeah, 485 South Highland, where the television station is now. Yeah.
So you would balance class and your show at the same time.
It was walking distance. Oh. You know, it was a quarter mile.
Were the co-eds that you met along the way aware that you were a radio star?
Most were not.
Okay.
No, most of them weren't. A lot of the guys I hung out with were, of course, because they'd want to do something. I said, I got to go to work.
Okay, so what were your jobs at WHBQ? What shift did you work?
I was a DJ. I worked just about every shift except morning drive. I never worked morning drive. We had super morning drive guys in Jack Parnell, and then when he became program director, a guy named Skip Wilkerson.
I remember Skip.
Who was perhaps technically the best DJ as far as mixing that I ever saw. He was terrific.
And that was after Dewey Phillips then, right? So Dewey had come and gone?
Yeah, Dewey had come and gone. I never really heard Dewey on the radio very much. One thing, I was young. I was only 8 years old when he played the first Elvis record. And but I knew the history there. Right. But I did see him on TV. You know, he had a show on Channel 13, WHBQ TV, in the afternoons for a while. And I saw him on there and thought it was the wildest thing I had ever seen.
Is that what piques your curiosity, to be able to translate radio into television, or the possibilities?
Not really. I don't think I ever really made that much of the connection. Again, I didn't hear him on the radio that much, so I thought it was just something strange that people, and it was, that they put on every afternoon.
Was the radio station and the television station in the same building?
Same building, yeah.
So how did you matriculate from one to the other?
Well, I was on the air doing my show one afternoon, and Lance Russell, who was program manager and also the host of the wrestling show. The Lance Russell. Came by and he said, Davey, he said, I got a guy who's been helping me out on the wrestling show. He's leaving, and I need somebody to help me out. He said, I've been watching you work and know a little bit about you and listening to you on the air. And he said, I think you'd be good at it. I'd like you to join me. He said, I don't know if you like wrestling or hate wrestling or where it is, but let me give you some advice. If you ever think you might want to work in television at all, you should take this job, because you'll find out if you like television, and you'll find out if television likes you. Mm-hmm. I did, thank goodness.
And who were your first wrestlers?
Oh, gee, I guess back in the day, Fabulous Jackie Fargo, Tojo Yamamoto, there were a bunch of other guys like that. And of course, Jackie Fargo was getting to the point where his career had peaked. He wasn't ready to retire, but he had peaked. And he took this kid named Jerry Lawler under his wing.
And Jerry went to Treadwell High School?
Yeah. Treadwell Eagles, yeah. And he would send in, he's a great cartoonist. And he would send Jerry Lawler. And he would send in cartoons to Lance of what had happened on the previous week's wrestling. And Lance started showing them on TV, and one thing led to another, and the next thing you know, the king is born.
Is born, no question about it. I want to talk a lot about wrestling, and let's come back to that, because everybody's going to want to hear about that. Yeah. Tell me how you made the transition from wrestling to weather.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and pause that.
I was doing the wrestling show while I was still working.
Leave it there, and we'll come back to that right now. And let's bring Pat on the thing. I was fascinated, Pat, as we watched it. I watched it several times, and I thought it was important for us to go ahead and show it again and let you see it and comment. And my question to you, Pat, is what did you learn in that first 15 minutes or so of that interview?
Well, my assumption was that Dave was the weatherman long before he ever got into wrestling, and so I didn't know that he was not on TV. That wrestling was his first television gig.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, see,
Absolutely.
I had no idea of that, and I I I today most weathermen on TV are degreed meteorologists. They go. Mississippi State has a real fine program in meteorology, and most of the weathermen go there and get that. They don't just kind of get into the weather, but Dave. I mean, there's been how old is Dave, Randy?
77, 78, maybe
Yeah.
76, something around that.
Well, there's 2.5 generations of Memphians who have, that will tell you Dave Brown has saved their lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
But
There's no
yeah,
doubt.
that is fascinating, and I know where Trenton, Tennessee is, and I know where Humboldt is, and I guess in my mind, because he's such he's such an icon here. I mean, he's basically if you put together a Mount Rushmore of Memphis television personalities, Dave is right on there. And I just assumed he'd always been in Memphis.
Yeah, from Trenton, Tennessee, and awful proud of it. I wanted to call Adam in here, and we'll go back to this video. We've got 17 minutes, 22 seconds, I believe, left in this video. Adam, we talked on the phone about this, but your thoughts about the things that really stood out to you in the first 10 minutes of this WKNO piece.
And something, Pat, just to what you were saying earlier, it's kind of rare. Dave holds the American Meteorological Society certificate for broadcast meteorology, and he holds the NWA National Weather Association seal. So Dave was actually I think he may have been one of the only ones at the time in Memphis to hold both seals of approval when he was doing the weather on WMC in Memphis. So he was very accomplished meteorologist as well. And Channel 5, of course, throughout the years was the first to do everything in market, first to go color, first Doppler radar, first composite radar, all that type of stuff. So they were always on the cutting edge and invested in Dave and invested in the weather center there because of that. And Dave will tell us a little later on just how much that the wrestling and that both went hand in hand and how much that did. And one of his, aside from doing the wrestling, and I think he'll say it here in a few minutes, Randy, he also it was a syndicated show, Dialing for Dollars. And Dave did that on Channel 13, and he really gets to explaining that in great detail as we move forward. It's a very, very interesting interview. It talks a lot about wrestling as it goes on. And Tom Prestigiacomo, I mean, just what a fantastic job he did interviewing Dave.
That's the one thing I wanted to go to next. I wanted you to explain to our audience and to Pat exactly who Tom is. And he did do a fantastic job on, and you can also speak of real quick, briefly, about WKNO TV.
Sure. So WKNO TV, as you said earlier, Randy, is the PBS affiliate in the Memphis market for PBS. And Tom Prestigiacomo was a longtime afternoon radio host on FM 100. WMC television and FM 100 radio, both top rated 80s and 90s and most of 2000s. So Tom was a legendary radio DJ in the Memphis market.
Okay.
Great stuff. And if you're ready, Pat, and you're ready, Adam, we're going to go back to a conversation with Dave Brown. You guys ready?
We're ready.
Roll it.
At the radio station. And it got to the point where I said, you know, I do like this TV thing a little bit. So I was talking to Lance one day, not during the wrestling show. I went to his office and I said, I'm thinking maybe I'd like to try television if you ever have anything open. He said, well, he said, strange you should mention that, because come October, I am going to have we're going to do Dialing for Dollars. He said, it's a syndicated thing. We'll need somebody to do it for us, and I'll hire him on as a staff announcer. And are you interested in that? And I said, absolutely. So we got together on that.
Explain the mechanics of Dialing for Dollars for people who watched and tried to win.
Yeah. We would take the phone book, the Memphis Metro phone book, and we would cut it up into little slivers. And they would have anywhere from 7 to 10, 12 names on each
You know who that is with
paper.
Dave?
Put it in a big barrel.
No.
Do that, pull a slip out, and the count, say the count was down 3. So we started to go down 1, 2, 3.
I don't think so.
That's the name we're going to call.
And you did that on the air? Or?
On the air live, no delay.
Isn't that amazing?
And so we would call, and if the people first answered the phone,
right,
and no cell phones in those days, it was all landlines, and then if they knew the count was down 3, and how much money was in the jackpot. If they knew the count and amount, then they won the jackpot.
The count and the amount.
Yeah, we gave away a lot of money. And just bought an audience. We were running movies that probably cost the television station $5 a run. And, you know, spent a little money on giving away the jackpot. And it was a real moneymaker from 9 till 11 every morning.
I was going to ask, how many times in that 2-hour period did you give away money or try to give away money?
It would depend. It would depend on the length of the movie.
Right.
Usually, as I recall, it would be at least 3 times and sometimes 4 or 5.
I was waving at him on.
Sometimes you'd get real short movies in, so I'd need to fill more time to fill the 2 hours. So we just make more calls.
Were you surprised at the people who recognized you from more so from television than radio?
Yes. It was quite different, because on radio, I never tried to project, you know, that, you know, you should know me when you see me on the street type thing. But on television, it just happens.
Right.
And it was pretty amazing. And that started when I started doing wrestling.
And when you walk into Kroger, people know exactly who you are.
Yeah.
And there's.
But you know, the great thing, over the years, I've had many people say, I feel like you're a member of my family, which I think is the greatest compliment that anyone could pay me, because it says we're comfortable having you in our home, even only by TV.
But you bring valuable information. I mean, you know, it's funny how weather affects us all, and knowing where it is. Let me go back to promotions and things like that. You also took a job for a little while. You did, when you were in radio, you were Bill Dance's first audio engineer, is that correct?
Yeah, that's after I'd already moved into television. I came over to television as host of the Dialing for Dollars movie, but my title was staff announcer. I did not work in the news department. I worked in programming department. So I was an audio engineer / staff announcer. So I would run the audio board at various times during the day when I wasn't doing Dialing for Dollars. And Bill had been to several television stations, and he was turned down. And he went to Lance Russell, and Lance says, hey, you know, Lance was a fisherman. Right. And he said, you may be onto something here. Here's what you need to do, da-da-da-da. And Bill did it. So the first ever Bill Dance show, I was the guy who was working the audio, opening his microphone. Bill and I joke about that to this day.
Were you on location or in a set?
In the studio. It was all done in studio. Yeah. They would, in those days it was film. There was no digital, no videotape even that was being shot in those days. It was all film. So they would shoot the show on 16 millimeter film, and then it would be edited, actually cut and spliced.
In-house.
In-house. And then, of course, now he has his own production facility and all sorts of stuff.
All right, let's talk about that technology. Are you amazed at the changes that you went through from 16 millimeter developing to yourself with all the chemicals laying around to being able to take out your phone and have just as good a quality now that...
Exactly. A lot of video that goes on local television stations these days, high definition video shot on an iPhone. It's just tremendous. And we can do so much more now. We can take people right to what is going on, rather than just tell them about it or show them something that happened 6-8 hours ago.
And it's immediate. Everything is just, it's right there. You just plug in and go.
Now, not only that, we let them know on Twitter and Facebook that we've got it, so to tune right now, and then you've got what's going on.
I'm going to get ahead of myself because I want to save that for the end of it. You embraced social media faster than anybody else, I think, in the buildings over there.
Well, I've always kind of been a geek.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to ask you. When you did your first weathercast at WHBQ, that was what year?
That was 1972, May of '72.
Tell me about your map and everything that was part of
This
that.
is
The map was
fascinating to
metal.
me.
Okay.
It was with a map of the United States painted on metal on the wall. And we had the same material. If you go to your refrigerator and look at the back of it, that refrigerator magnet, that's the same material that we used. And the art department would cut out these pressed board symbols.
Clouds and sunshine.
Clouds, cold fronts, highs, lows, all of that. And they would paint them appropriately and then put these magnets on the back. So we would just stick them on the wall and we could move them around all we wanted to. But that's the way it was when I started, magnetic.
I saw somebody who had like color forms, those old plastic things. Yeah. I worked at a station in Louisville that had some of those.
Yeah. After that, the computer generation came in. The first computers that we had were pretty rudimentary.
Right.
First one I had was color,
right.
But you couldn't do a whole heck of a lot with it. And then it progressed and progressed and progressed, and they're just tremendously sophisticated now. As computing power has gotten better, weather presentation has gotten better, as well as weather forecast. The bigger, more powerful computers, if they can run more and more information in a short period of time, you get better forecasts.
All right, so you came up as a baby weather guy, and you were there for what, 5 years at WHBQ, or 3 years before you came to Channel 5?
Well, I was 13 altogether, radio and TV.
Okay.
I was doing weather there for 5 years when I came over to Channel 5. The wrestling show got canceled at Channel 13 due to political division in the wrestling company.
Okay.
And we were owned by a company in New York, and the lawyers in New York said, cancel the whole thing, we're not getting into
Talking about RKO television.
Dumbest move they could have possibly made. They had no understanding of the power that wrestling show had. But it worked out very well for all of us concerned, because we went over to Channel 5 and it just became legendary there.
Who was general manager at that time? Was that Maury Griner?
Maury Griner, yeah. Mr. Love Maury Griner, great guy.
And so he brought you guys as a package then?
Sort of. He brought the wrestling show over, and Jerry Jarrett says, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hire Lance Russell to help us run the company. He won't work for the television station anymore. Okay. He'll work for us. And he said, I think we can get Dave Brown over here for you too. Well, that was interesting, I found out later on, because they never talked to me about that. But anyway, it did work out. Channel 5 needed a weather person at the time, and they had Dick Hawley doing double duty. He was doing news and weather, which was becoming not the ideal situation. Right. So they needed somebody to do weather. I was established, so we were able to get together on cash. And
were newscasts at that time 15 minutes still, or had they expanded to the half hour?
They had already expanded the half hour and an hour in the early evening. We were at Channel 13, and we were on 6 to 7, and at Channel 5 we were on from 5 to 6 p.m., solid hour.
Was the format the same at WHBQ for wrestling and the same at Channel 5, or did it expand or change?
It expanded, it grew, it changed, it blossomed with the creativity. It was fine at Channel 13, and yet it developed there too, but it really exploded when it got to Channel 5.
Were you regional at Channel 13? Because when you were at Channel 5, you had other markets that these shows ran in. So maybe the show that you recorded live at Channel 5 would be shown the next week in another market.
Say Louisville.
Well, I grew up watching you, and I don't want to tell you that.
Louisville, Lexington, Nashville, Jackson, Tennessee. I think we were in 6 or 7 markets, but not at Channel 13. That all happened at Channel 5 when Lance came to work over there. And that was one thing he did, was get us other television stations. At one point, the show was seen in over 60 markets nationwide.
Wow.
Including places like Atlanta and Kansas City. Now, here's the thing. It wasn't seen at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning, and many of those have seen 2 o'clock in the morning. And so it didn't pick up a national following.
Were they edited? Let me go in that direction. And there were regional hotbeds for wrestling, right?
Yes.
That this kind of program that Lance created was recreated in other markets?
Yeah.
Or did he get the idea from somebody else and decide to expand it here?
Well, it was developing in all across the country. It was territorial. In those days, the country was divided up into territories. The North Carolina people didn't encroach on the Memphis people, and vice versa, and the Florida people and Louisiana people. So the country was all pretty well divided up with these guys, and together they made up the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, and that's where that came from. And they would get together and have meetings ever so often. And for instance, we would have a guy that
Dr.
was
Robinson,
worn out
what's going
here,
on?
basically.
Watching Dave
Wasn't
Brown
going
from
much anymore because everybody had seen him 25 times. So they'd say, hey, why don't you loan me so-and-so, and I'll send him to Florida.
They would trade.
We would trade and build audience there, this guy would wear out his welcome. He'd go somewhere else. And
Macho Man Randy Savage comes to mind in those. And you tell me the names. I don't want to tell you mine.
Oh, well, there's so many. All the big names that people heard of in the early days of the WWE, then called the WWF, most of them came through here. Right. Not Andre the Giant and people like that, but for instance, Randy Macho Man Savage. He came out of actually Lexington, Kentucky. I remember him and worked for us. A guy named Kurt Angle, who was a star 20 years ago, something like that. He started here.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
Hacksaw Jim Duggan wrestled here, yeah. The Undertaker. Yep. Several of those guys like that. And a guy named Hulk Hogan.
Right.
He started here as Terry Bollea, his real name. And I don't believe we ever called him Hulk. I think
this is where Dave was wrong.
I think he was Terry Hogan, maybe, or something like that.
Right.
But I don't remember for sure. But I think he became the Hulk when he went to WWE. But he became arguably the biggest wrestling star, equal to, say, a Muhammad Ali, in the world of boxing.
Some experts called you and Lance Russell working together the greatest wrestling announcer team in history, which is flattering, I'm sure, and I'm sure you would defer. But tell me about doing. First of all, you do weather 7 days a week, because if it stormed on Sunday, you came back in.
Right there, and come back to that thing. And first of all, in the last few minutes, Pat Trammell, I want to ask you, and then we will ask, have breaking news to tell to Adam that he probably already knows. But Pat, the last few minutes, your thoughts on the Dave Brown conversation.
Well, the thought struck me when he said this, and I remember, and I don't know if it's in his book or not, but Jerry Jarrett told me that he went to Five to try to get on their show, and they didn't want to do it. And he said, but I can bring you Dave Brown. And he says that's what got them on Channel 5.
Yeah, I would say, Randy, I kind of remember the story. Didn't they actually sent Lawler over there, right?
Yes, and that's Jerry Jarrett never says that. Right. That's Pat's buddy.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's what he told me.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that's what I've been preaching for 6 years to you, and you still don't buy it. You still don't
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying that's what he told me.
So they're just not going to give Lawler, but they sent Lawler because Lawler was the biggest star in the company. Right. And at that point, nobody from whoever, was it Scripps Howard?
Yeah, Scripps. Yeah, nobody over there in the building would have known who Jerry Jarrett was at the time. So they sent Lawler. Lawler met with Maury Griner and Phil Slavitt. Is that right,
yeah,
Randy?
The program director.
Yeah, met with both of them, and I think was talking and whatever. And I don't know, Dave. I don't remember Dave. Like, I don't remember them saying no unless you bring Dave. I think Dave was just like an added bonus on top of it because, like Dave said and like Randy said, it was the hottest show on television. I mean, it outdrew prime time on every channel. I mean, there was no question. And like Dave said, the stupidest thing RKO Television did, being a New York-based company, not really understanding the Memphis market, when the split happened and you had the issues between Gulas and Jarrett, RKO's like, we're stepping out of it. So that's just where that opening came. And then I think Nick went on Upstart, Channel 24, at around maybe like a year or two after. And it was a very short-lived thing. It was because it wasn't the same type of studio wrestling like Channel 5 had. And then, like they said a little bit earlier too, when it was on 13, it was only on Memphis TV Channel 13. When they had Lance, Jarrett hired Lance to work for the wrestling company, part of what Lance did was get the affiliate stations and do the deal where they had Louisville and Evansville and all the other markets.
Yeah.
And
let me clarify that real quick, because that's not right either.
Okay.
Now, it's kind of right, kind of wrong. Here's what they did. For Louisville and Evansville and Lexington, Kentucky, of course, obviously Chattanooga had their own TV, and Birmingham and Huntsville, everybody had their own TV. What they would do in Louisville and Evansville and Lexington at the time, they would take some of the stuff from WHBQ, some of the stuff from Chattanooga, some of the stuff from Nashville. They would splice that all together. What is true is that once the split with Jared, it was completely the hour and a half Saturday morning TV5 show was spliced down and to fit in where they could fit an hour show in there with commercials, and that's how they did. So they did get some. They did get some of Channel 13, but I'd say maybe 20-30% at the most. So that's the other clarification. The other thing I want to say is the breaking news right now. You might have heard a little breaking news right now. Is Adam's always fascinating when we do the business of the television business. Now, Gray Media, who now is the owner of WMC TV and has been for several years, also the owner of K8 in Jonesboro, Arkansas, has stations in Nashville and all Atlanta and all over the place. Adam, I wanted to break, if you have not seen that post that Terry Golden posted today. Now, WBBJ in Jackson, Tennessee, Channel 7 has been purchased by Gray Media. Had you heard that, Adam?
I saw that, and honestly, Randy, I thought Gray Media already owned them. So that was news to me that they weren't already one of the Gray stations. But yeah, I did see that. I saw where Terry had posted that. Terry, of course, owning the radio stations there in Jackson, posted at WBBJ. So now, if I'm not mistaken, Randy, I think now almost, if not all, of those affiliates of Championship Wrestling back in the day, I think all of them now might be owned by Gray Media, because you've got Jonesboro TV's owned by it. I believe the Nashville TV is, and Memphis. So I mean, I could be the Lexington, Louisville. I think almost all of them now are Gray Television.
Absolutely, 100%. Just interesting, and I always think of Adam when we get scoops on television stations ownership. He has a passion for that. As we return to the conversations with Dave Brown, Tom from WKNO.
Do it today. You would never be allowed to do it today. But for some reason, I started doing wrestling, and then I started doing weather. And I asked Lance, I said, do I have to give up wrestling? He said, no. And for some reason, people accepted the fact that I was giving them weather information, meteorology during the week, and then on Saturday I was doing this other thing. I think the one thing that may have helped on that, Lance sort of let me develop my own character on
That's what I wanted to ask. Show. Tell me about if it's a role, let's call it a role and see.
Well, it was me, but it was also a role.
Right. Like Stephen Colbert.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Sort of. Except mine, my whole thing was I worked for the television station. Therefore, you can't do that because that's going to affect negatively on the television station. So that was kind of my role, kind of to bring some, just slow it down a little bit and bring a little bit of organization to what otherwise was chaos.
I got you. Well, and you were so clean about it. You just, but you never. Did you ever get
Randy, of course, when he was selected.
No, never did. Well, not really.
Yeah.
He got pushed around. They ripped his suit off one day. Jimmy Hart dumped flour, a bag of flour over his head. That was a giant mess to clean up. And let me tell you, I think they gave the cleanup crew $25 extra.
And Jerry Lawler, or not Jerry Lawler, who was the manager? I can't think.
Jimmy Hart.
Jimmy Hart called you Dave Brown the Weather Clown.
Dave Brown the Weather Clown, and he called. Lawler started calling Lance Banana Nose.
Right. I remember that very well.
Somehow it stuck.
All the stuff we've got about 5 minutes left to talk. Please talk about your family for a minute.
I have a great family.
You have a beautiful family. Margaret is a saint. I mean,
and she says, "Tell you hello." By the way,
she
is doing great. She is a saint. She's put up with me for all these years. We've been married 48 years
as
of this date, and I have 3 tremendous daughters. One, of course,
Yes.
I lost in the drunk driving crash. A drunk driver killed one of them and hurt 2 children. But I also have 4 wonderful grandchildren today. They're almost grown, but they are just, my family is the light of my life, always has been. My daughters that are still with us, Denise and Carmen, are something very, very special. And it's been good.
It's been a month since you've retired.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Are they surprised to have you around the house now?
Well,
I mean,
you know, one thing is sealed the deal. I was talking to Carmen, and I said, look, I've decided that I'm going to hang it up at the end of August. And I wanted you to know before all of this press release and stuff started going out. I said, we've been talking about this for 3 years. You know some of that, but I've decided this is going to be it. And she says, great. Now I've shared my dad with the rest of the world for 38 years, and now I can have him all to myself.
That's excellent.
I said, that sealed the deal right there.
And with all of these 7-day weeks that you worked for years, for decades, Dave, you still found time to have hobbies. You're a St. Louis Cards fan.
Big Cardinals fan.
Are you going to buy season tickets next year?
No.
Okay.
No. But I'm going to see a lot more Grizzlies, Memphis Tigers. I've already been to a couple of more football games and things like that.
You're a coin collector, is that correct?
Yeah, I used to be much more active than I was. Started when I was in the 8th grade. A history professor, history teacher got me hooked on that. I don't have anything very valuable. I just love it for the history of it. And the valuable stuff you don't ever get to play with much because you have to keep it in the bank.
And you're a train geek, is that a fair thing to say? How did you get involved in trains?
I'm not sure. When my dad died, a week after my dad died, there was a giant train wreck on the Gulf Mobile and Ohio Railroad, which ran through Trenton. And after school let out, we only went to school a half day, the final day of school, and my best buddy and I went down and just watched them clean that up all day long. And somehow I became fascinated with railroads and GM&O, and I've got a model layout at my house, and just my grandchildren and I were playing with it a little bit over the weekend.
We're inside of 2 minutes. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to mention?
Oh, me. Well,
Mothers Against Drunk Driving? Maybe?
Mothers Against Drunk Driving has become a passion. I just participated in a walk over the weekend to help fundraise there. Mothers Against Drunk Driving, I am a member of. I don't speak on their behalf. I speak for myself, but I believe in what they're saying, and I think they get a huge amount of credit.
Vincent, thanks for watching.
When I started speaking out 18 years ago, 17,000 Americans were dying in drunk driving crashes every year. That number's down to 11,000.
That's wonderful.
But that's still not near enough. We got a long way to go, and what we've got to do is change society and make it totally unacceptable. We've got things like these rideshare programs and the ones you can call on your telephone. I think that's going to go a long way. I know some of this younger generation, and that's what they do. They spend the $20 or $30, they go out and have a big time, and they don't worry about hurting themselves or somebody else.
And programs like Uber and Lyft are coming along.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
I appreciate you being here. It's been absolutely wonderful to sit across from you, and I wish we had an hour program instead of just this 30 minutes.
Always fun to be with you. I remember our great times we had on New Year's Eve.
He's Dave Brown, ladies and gentlemen, and you'll find him anywhere he wants to be because he's retired now. I'm Tom Prestigiacomo. I hope we've enjoyed our conversation with Dave Brown. We'll see you again.
From the panel, we'll start with Pat. Pat, do you think this video was valuable enough for us to play on Talking Memphis Wrestling?
Absolutely. I mean, what an absolute prince of a guy he is. And I was so happy to be able to visit with him at the Memphis Hall of Fame ceremony and laugh about him having that Corvette, which is about this far off the ground. and I couldn't get in. If Dave's 76, I'm 15 years younger than him, and I couldn't get in and out of that thing 3 times a day if my life depended on it. And God bless you, Tracy.
Let's go ahead and put Tracy's thing on there before we get Adam's comment here. And people being honest on the show, and I appreciate it very much. I can tell you right now, this is after Dave Brown left USWA, Corey Macklin left USWA, and I left USWA. So Corey and I was hanging out, and I was invited to a St. Louis, and Dave was certainly off the wrestling show, and Dave was invited to this trip, but he had family stuff going on. So, and Dave had a family actually a family wedding coming up, but he was invited to go and he said he couldn't do it. But anyway, me, Corey Macklin, Corey's dad, and Memphis State basketball coach Larry Finch and basketball legend went to St. Louis to watch the Cardinals. And we're going to spend the night and watch 2 days worth of baseball and that sort of thing. Well, Corey's wife, Pat, called as we were halfway to St. Louis, and it had broken on the news, and that the wreck and that sort of thing, and so that's how we found out about the death. That happened, and I went to the visitation, I went to the funeral, and let's put Tracy's text up there again because obviously I Uber for a living right now, and I call my Saturdays and my Sundays my vehicle recovery days. I know I've told you that many times, Adam, my vehicle recovery day, because people are out Friday night and Saturday night and they go to the bars, they go to the clubs, they do wherever, go to a buddy, whatever, and then they call an Uber. I don't drive at night, so I don't see them then because I don't want to have a drunk person throwing up in my car. But the next day, I can't tell you, it's every week, Pat, every week. And I know not to give your personal business, but one of the things that you lectured to both of your children, and or both of your children, is, and you set up Uber accounts, and where you would take care of that with no questions asked. So it's a big thing. And Tracy said, I've been sober 4.5 years after 35 years drunk, and my prayers for all this addiction is hurting the world. And that's true because there's so much places that you can go. And the best story, the worst story I can tell is the best story I can tell to make you guys have it in your mind not to do this. Absolutely don't do this, folk. Let me tell you, Dave Brown, as you saw for the last 30 minutes, nicest guy in the world. Been married to his wife Margaret for what, over 50 years now, Adam?
Yeah.
They had 3 daughters. One daughter was pregnant and had a baby. And I'm going to try to get through this. One of the saddest things, Dave's middle daughter was getting married. Was
the next day.
Getting married the very next day. So the daughter that passed away was going to Dave's house and Margaret's house for the rehearsal dinner or the dinner before the wedding, some kind of thing. And she ended up driving to her mom and dad. Somebody ran a red light and hit them. It killed Dave's daughter, Dave's granddaughter, and the baby to be. All 3 of them. Dave minus the daughter, Margaret minus the daughter, the other 2 girls minus sisters. Greg Cool, am I right on the name? Greg.
Yeah, Greg Cool. Yep.
Was the husband. He lost his whole family. Do you know, Pat? Have I told you the story? Do you know where this damn drunk driving? And listen, I want everybody to listen to this. I want Tracy. I want everybody to listen to this for sure, because this is a life lesson thing. Pat, do you know where that dude was going when he killed Dave Brown's family?
I don't know. No.
He was going to jail. He had multiple DUIs, but they gave, because he had a job, they gave him a sentence of he had to do his jail time
On
Friday
weekend.
nights and Saturday nights on weekends. This son of a bitch was going to jail drunk and killed a whole damn family.
It's just it's the only thing when you get my age and my stage of life and what I have, the only thing I'm really afraid of is something happening to one of my children. And I can handle it. She can kick me out. We'll get over that. But that's the only thing you're afraid of. And I am really, really, really thankful for two things. One, truthfully, for Uber and Lyft and all that, because that gave me so much peace of mind, particularly with number one in Memphis. Um, but I mean, I shouldn't be here today. However much that guy that hit Dave's daughter was drinking and driving, I've done
I
it too.
can I can tell you exactly. He was driving on a revoked license on his way to serve that weekend sentence at the Shelby County Penal Farm. He was driving somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 to 80 miles an hour and had a blood alcohol content of 0.22.
I probably would have passed out before that, but I've had way too much to drive, and I am glad for Mothers Against Drunk Drivers and the Ubers and all that kind of stuff. But Dave and his family's had that's a heavy load. You don't get over that. What a great human being he is. He really is. That's one of a great pleasure to be able to see him. I-40 and Canada Road, Mod says.
Yeah, it was out that area there. It was Friday, May 30th, 1997 is when that happened. And
Say the date again.
Friday, May 30th, 1997. Lance made the announcement the following Saturday morning on TV. Uh, and yeah, so it was her daughter was I believe she was 6 months old. Zadie was her name, and she was pregnant with her unborn son Thomas. So, like you said, it hit her and killed it. I believe I've got a report pulled up here too, just to kind of remind my memory. Let's see. Everything happened. They was in there for a few hours. The little girl Zadie was on life support. She died the next day after that. So it was just terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Canada Road and Highway 64 is where that happened. So
Where is Canada Road?
that is kind of going out toward Lakeland. If you're going
Okay.
out Highway 64
Yeah.
and you turn left on Canada Road, if you're going toward Fayette County, turn left on Canada Road, and that'll take you up. There's a Canada Road exit off of I-40. And it's
And
up.
Dave lives in Lakeland.
Right, so it's up that direction.
Okay. Okay.
Folks,
But
go ahead, Adam.
I was
Final
going
word.
to say too. I think another thing that's really important. Dave, having gone through all of that, and you even kind of heard him say it in the story, has nothing against somebody that wants to go out and have a good time and get something to drink, but the responsibility of making sure that you get home safe and don't ruin someone else's family. And like you said, with the ride share programs and everything, and Randy, you doing the ride share programs, there's no excuse now. Like changing the culture or whatever, you know, it's totally fine to go out, drink, do whatever you're going to do, but you have got to be responsible enough that you've got a way home that you're not going to do what that person did. And I think, Randy, just a couple of years ago, that guy finally got out of prison. And of course, against much protest from Dave's family and them, but I think that guy, now he's out of prison, and Dave still doesn't have his daughter and two grandchildren.
Very sad.
Wow.
There's no excuse. Just a sad thing. And we're going to talk Memphis wrestling when we return after this short 15 or 20-second open. We'll be back with pictures of the day on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Pat, Adam, then we have Power Pro stuff coming up.
You'll see America's favorite sport on WHBQ television.
The cards of the week we are not going to do again today. The pictures of the week sponsored by the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame.com. Be sure to check that out. Pictures of the day. We showed this one picture last week, and I cannot not show it this week because it's some I think Pat Trammell will think is super cool. I think Randy West will think this is super cool. It's after the last card and it's 49.70. 49.70. And how about this, Pat Trammell?
Whoa! Where did that come from?
I stole it. I stole the graphic, and I have no idea. You might could Google it and see if it's available. This is the official merchandise that was sold somewhere in our territory. I'd never seen it since I saw it here. That's something I bet Pat Trammell would pay $15 for.
I'd pay $500 for that.
Would you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I bet Lawler's got one. See if Lawler sell me one. I bet he's got one of those.
I will almost bet that might have been before Lawler got in the business.
Well, that's not a Lawler cartoon, is it?
No, I don't think so. But I don't think so. I don't think so. But you know what? I'm sure if somebody has it, they'd gladly sell it for $500. Jerry Lawler wouldn't sell it for $500. As much as Jackie Fargo meant to him, I don't know if he'd sell it at all. I really don't. But a cool picture. Did that give you chills seeing it?
It did. I'm looking for it right now on Google.
How about you, Adam? You saw it last. You weren't on the
All
show.
right. Hey, wait a minute. Facebook, Memphis Wrestling.
Okay, I was wondering if I needed to go out and buy it first and then resell it to Pat.
1 week ago. 1 week ago. Okay. My friend's mom still has the old watch with Jackie Fargo face. Still works.
Yeah, that looks to me like somebody just bought the watch, popped it out, drew the face on it, and popped it back in there. And that doesn't look like Lawler artwork to me either, Randy.
How much they want for it, Pat?
Doesn't say it. It looks like
they were saying that their mother still had it, right? And they had a picture of it.
Yeah.
You gonna reach out to those people,
Hit
Pat?
hit them up
right now
on Facebook. Let them know they got $500 coming their way.
I think you know who's posted this.
Who?
Paul Neighbors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I guess he's the administrator of a Memphis Wrestling Facebook page.
Probably.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know that I have a. I've got a Facebook. I mean, I had one years ago under an assumed name, but I don't know how to log in, so I'll have to work with that.
All right, and now a little sad situation.
I'll tell you what we'll do. If I can get to Paul or somebody can, I'll buy that, and we'll have a raffle with all our people here for that watch. And we'll give the money to Mothers Against Drunk Driving in Dave's honor.
That's a fantastic deal, and we appreciate that very much. We're going to continue with the pictures of the day, and the very next picture is a sad situation from a gentleman that I knew very, very well. And you go to the next picture. This is a guy that did enhancement work, and for some reason this is saying that Adam muted me, but it's not showing that I'm muted, so I think we're okay, and I'm going to get rid of that because that makes me not be able to see this. Classic Memphis Wrestling says, we regret to inform you that William Freezer Thompson has passed away December 11th, the day after my 64th birthday. He passed away at age 65. In the 80s, he started doing enhancement work for us. Freezer Thompson passed away of diabetes and had other issues, and I heard somebody said he was at 600 pounds. Do you remember William the Refrigerator Thompson doing job work in Memphis, Pat?
I don't. I was business partners with William the Refrigerator Perry, but I think I saw him. Was that in late Memphis or Power Pro?
That was late Memphis. I remember him up until like '97 on USWA for sure. And I think, like Randy said, I think maybe some late '80s is when he started. And
Mid '80s.
he was from Arkansas, right?
Yes, he's from Truman.
Yeah.
Passed away in Truman, and we wanted to point that out. Prayers to the freezer who died. Absolutely died at a nursing home in Jonesboro, Arkansas, 65 years old. Rest in peace to the freezer. Next picture there, Adam, as we're going to go through this, and this is just a cool picture, like 3 different eras. How about this, Pat?
You know, I've not seen the first one there, uh, but I've seen obviously the one on the far right, and the one in the middle's not that too far away. But
Yeah. The picture
you
in
know,
the middle could be any time in the last 30 years.
yeah, that's
He looked
right,
like that.
that's right, that's right. But he is a handsome Jimmy for sure.
Yeah.
Came rolling into Miffo, TWA. Tell all the ladies, handsome Jimmy's on the way. He's a rocker, he's a roller, little funky too, man. Handsome Jimmy was so cool. Next picture on Talking Memphis Wrestling today. And this is an event when I was living with Eddie Marlin in 2018 to 2019. I went out to a fan fest in Nashville at the old fairgrounds, and I went to see the Midnight Express, Loverboy Dennis, Beautiful Bobby, and Jim Cornette. The wrestling fan shown with Jim Cornette's arms around him, and Jim also has arms around the gentleman's girlfriend. He was a Elvis impersonator, a Elvis tribute artist, and he came and was a part of that, and it was good to see Jim Cornette at the fairgrounds in Nashville, Tennessee. Next picture, please. How about this one, Pat? You got it here.
That is something. Now that's Fargo and Andre.
Yes.
You know, Fargo looks a little taller there than I remember him. I guess he shrunk a little bit, but you know, did you see Andre wrestle a lot, Randy?
Not a lot, maybe twice at the most.
And it was in the mid to late '80s, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You know, there if you can find, uh, and I've just seen a little snips and snaps of him in the early to mid '70s. He was a phenomenal athlete. I mean, that guy could drop kick and everything. I
Yeah,
wish I could see all that.
he was absolutely tremendous. Next picture, I'm not going to be politically correct. I am going to use language when this picture was taken in the 70s. I will call it like they called it then. Again, it's not politically correct. Now, this is midget women wrestlers, Darlin Dagmar and Diamond Lil. Great picture there from Darlin Dagmar and Diamond Lil. The very next picture.
What's that building there, Randy? I know it. You could always kind of tell it because it had those fringes hanging from the ceiling.
That is the sports arena in Nashville before they moved in to the new home in the 80s that we wrestled in with the USWA. So it's on the fairgrounds in Nashville, no doubt about it. As we go to the next picture now, and this picture is Rodney Gossett and my good riding partner and friend, the legendary French Angel, the spoiler. This is Frank Morel. The next picture is of the Mid-America six-man tag team champions, Tommy Rich, Tojo Yamamoto, and George Goulas. Next picture after this is the fabulous, as we go with the next picture after that, this is the fabulous Jackie Fargo with Christine Jarrett's nephew, ring announcer, photographer, did a lot of things, Mike Duncan. Next picture.
I wish I had a sweet leisure suit like that.
Absolutely. The next picture is Jackie Fargo, Don Fargo, and Jerry Jarrett at the Fan Fest in Charlotte, North Carolina, BC's country down there. And that's a picture from several years ago, as now we go to the next picture, which is the fabulous Jackie Fargo and one of his original tag team partners that wasn't his brother, Mario Milano. The next picture, pretty cool picture of the fabulous Jackie Fargo. And from TV, I don't know where that TV is. Adam, I would assume maybe up north.
Looks like an S and an X. I don't know what. I have to maybe look that up and see if I could find all the call letters there. It doesn't ring the bell right off.
I'll tell you that he's jacked there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Any idea who the announcer is, Randy?
Absolutely no idea at all. That made me think it was not in an area that I'm
Yeah.
familiar with. Having a good time. I'm talking Memphis Wrestling tonight as we look at the next picture. The next picture is the fabulous Jackie Fargo. The next picture is a picture of Don Fargo, crazy, crazy, crazy dude. And then we'll look at pictures 4990, 91.
Now, to clarify, Don was his actual brother.
No.
Who was his
Roughhouse
actual
was.
Okay.
Sonny Fargo.
So
Sonny
this
was,
guy,
okay.
this guy here, not the brother. This guy, brother.
Okay.
Is the brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And
that's the Coliseum there, Randy, right?
yes, that picture is at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. As we continue on, with the picture section of this thing, and I like this, and he looks good in that picture.
Yeah.
For sure.
Wonder how many of those got sold at the Coliseum.
A ton of them. Look, go through all the Fargo pictures that we have there. Is that it? This is the miscellaneous picture, and that's a lot of versions, and we'll keep that up. Some of that's repeated stuff.
When was Fargo's first match, and when was his last match? Do you reckon?
Oh gosh.
I mean, he had a big run for Vince Senior in the '50s, didn't he?
Yeah, he and had a hell of a run, and then they ended up banned for life at Madison Square Garden. Absolutely banned for life, and that didn't happen to.
I've got that he started his wrestling career around 1950 for Johnny Long in Atlanta. Does that sound right, Randy?
Yes, and it said he retired in '84. He retired as a full-time wrestler before that, and I'm thinking that he had some matches in the early '90s. When was the USWA Memphis Wrestling versus Texas program feud?
90.
So he definitely did 6-mans and 8-mans a part of that, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he didn't like work a whole he was part of matches, but yeah.
All right.
But not working a regular schedule.
We have a few more pictures of the week, sponsored by Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame.com. As we take a look at this is a Christmas theme. Christmas is next week. Great pictures of the Mouth of South. Jimmy Hart. Next picture of that is Jerry the King Lawler with a picture there. A great picture there. The next picture is, we saw a little bit about it in the miscellaneous. This is Jackie Fargo beating up on the Sheik. And the last picture is the guy that obviously Bobby Shane, the first king and one of the first kings of wrestling. And when Jerry Lawler went to Atlanta, he told Bobby Shane, who was the king of Atlanta, and Lawler saw that crown, and he said, "Hey, brother," said, "I like that. I'm doing a thing where I said in my interview, if I beat Jackie Fargo, I'd be the new king. Well, I beat Jackie Fargo, and I would. Where did you buy that thing?" And Bobby Shane gave him his crown and said, "Hey, it'll take a week or two to get it in, and you'll be coming into Atlanta regularly at this point. So just get yours ordered, get it, and then bring it back to me." Well, Bobby Shane was killed in that car wreck, and there's Lawler. I don't know know if still has it or not, but that's certainly
Speaking of
the
things, I
story
just
there.
was noticing here, Randy, of course, I know, Lawler had the Coca-Cola room at the house on Walnut Grove. I've been to the new house. I can't remember. He doesn't have a Coca-Cola room now. It's all out in the garage, isn't that where
Yes.
it's at? Okay.
Yeah.
But he actually had I'm sure you probably knew this too. He had a whole room at the house on Walnut Grove dedicated to Coca-Cola.
I did not know that.
Including a Coca-Cola drink machine.
Yeah, he had a Coke machine in there, Coca-Cola table, Coca-Cola lights. I mean, just everything you could think of. That whole room was just Coca-Cola stuff.
Appreciate it very much. And all right, now I want to go to William Robinson. Why was Jackie Fargo banned from Madison Square Garden? Because he caused a riot, him and Donnie, against Antonio Rocca and Miguel Perez. And he was banned for.
They had a huge feud, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Sellouts after sellouts after sellouts. Jackie Fargo drew a lot of money, and there's no doubt about that. Hey, we are going back to some video. We'll go from 1996. It's labeled, and we'll let Adam briefly describe it and pitch to it and talk about the Randy Hales saga from 1996.
So this is a video that I uploaded to YouTube that's since been copied and renamed. Someone calls it the Randy Hales saga. What this was when Randy had not been on television for a while, and I don't believe the absence was ever addressed on television until you came back here on this show. And what's funny is
just disappeared.
Yeah, you just disappeared. You were just off TV, no real explanation. So if it starts where I think it starts, what you're about to see is Dave's natural reaction to Randy just walking in off the street during the show. I don't think anybody but Lawler knew that you were coming, right?
Oh, absolutely nobody. The announcers didn't know.
Right.
The talent didn't know. Me and Lawler, period.
Yeah, and what's funny, Pat, if you look where I uploaded the video on YouTube, one of the camera people from Channel 5 commented on it, and he verifies. He's like, none of us knew this was happening. None of us knew what the hell was going on. We weren't even sure if Randy was supposed to be there. It's just that live TV chaos of just.
No, it wasn't on the format at all.
Right. Yeah, there was nobody knew, and I think it was like I said. I think Randy had called Lawler, and Lawler was like, "Okay, I'll come let you in," and then this is what happened.
Here's the thing. I overslept a little bit, but got there in plenty of time. He told me roughly what time, but it didn't really matter just to call him when I was there, and he'd come let me in. I got to the TV, parked kind of on the other side of the parking lot. Then I got out to the grass, and I rode around in the grass to get a little dirty.
Could you imagine somebody like upstairs watching the security cameras? They're like, what the hell is that guy doing?
I don't even know if there were security cameras back then. I know it was a TV station.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there was. Let's roll that video right now. The Randy Hales saga. I like that. That has a ring to it.
It does.
Great victory. My goodness gracious, it's Randy Hales. Randy Hales on a leave of absence here. Randy, you've been on vacation, it looks like, and my goodness, this is not the way we're used to seeing you. Used to seeing him in a coat and tie here. You doing all right?
I'll get into that in just a minute. First of all, Dave, the reason you hadn't seen me here this morning is not a person in this world knew I was coming today. I just walked in the door. You say I'm on a leave of absence. Why don't you tell the people out here today why I'm on that leave of absence? Tell the people why I'm on that leave of absence.
Well, I don't want to get into that. This is not the place to talk about it, Randy. You know as well as I do it isn't, Corey. No, Corey.
How about you, Bruno? I don't know.
Come on, Randy.
To be honest, I don't know. But what is it?
Randy.
Everybody listen to me.
I know there's some trouble. Let me just say I'm glad to see you again, but let's talk about it.
Dave, you know, I thought this would be just like this, because everybody back in the back behind closed doors in your weather office, what you do is you tell what's on your mind. Then when you come out here, you don't tell the truth. You're the company line, you protect everybody. But what I'm going to do today, everybody listen, I'm going to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and I'm going to expose a lot of things that's going around here. I'm going to expose a lot of things about this company.
Dave, what is Randy?
Dave, what I have to say is that you know it and everybody here knows it, that from the time I was 10 years old, I wanted to be in professional wrestling. Everybody thought it was a joke. Everybody thought I didn't have a chance at all. Everybody thought it was funny, but I fooled them, didn't I, Dave? The reason I fooled them is I worked harder than anybody. I worked my brains out day in and day out.
Yeah, you did.
Quite frankly, I was smarter than everybody else, and I became, from a 12-year-old kid selling programs to the person for the last 4 years been running this company. The highest rated TV show in the country is this show, is that right?
Yeah.
The only wrestling company that showed a profit the last 3 years is what company? This company, that's exactly right. And while I've been doing all the work, you know what's been happening? Let's talk about other people's contributions in this company.
Well, it takes a lot of people, you're right.
It's taken me for 3 years, only me, and everybody knows it. And I'm telling people here. Now, let's talk about the owners of this company. Let's talk about the owners of this company sitting in that big mansion on that big hill in Hendersonville. You hate them, Dave, just like everybody else, but you don't have the guts to say it. They drive the BMWs, right? They drive their Mercedes. They buy their yachts. Then what? How do they do it? The reason they do it, Dave, is that they're spending the millions of dollars I make for them in this company, and they don't share it with anybody else. How about Eddie Marlin? Stay away from me, Corey. How about Eddie Marlin? What is Eddie Marlin doing? Have you seen Eddie Marlin lately?
No. Now listen, and you know as well as I do, there have been some health problems in Eddie's family.
No, the truth of the matter is Eddie got old and fat and lazy. What Eddie Marlin does, he sits on his couch. He sits on his couch. His wife sits on the other couch, and you know what? All they do is sleep and eat all day, and they spend more money on grocery bills than they paid me a week, and I'm sick of it. If your name's not Jarrett, and if your name's not Marlin, they don't care if you live and die around here, and that's the God's gospel, people. That's the God's gospel. And you know what it all did to me?
Randy.
All my hard work, you stay away from me. You know what all my hard work did? You know what have you ever been broke? Have you ever been broke, Dave?
Randy, no. Fortunately, I haven't. Randy, you got some problems.
Let me tell you what those
I didn't know it. Let's go back in the back.
Let me tell you what the problems are. I got evicted from my apartment. I got my car repossessed. I'm dead broke. You can have that because there's sure not any money in there. That's what happened, Dave. That's what happened.
Randy, I didn't know all of this. I didn't. And I'm your friend. Let's go talk about it. Corey, I'm not
going anywhere. After I left this, I didn't take a leave of absence. I told them to shove it. I quit. And what's happened the 5 weeks I've been gone? These shows are horrible, and you know it. The talents are horrible.
Randy?
Who's out here? People like Mr. Coffee. How about him? Everybody
Randy, I'm going to ask you to go to the back. All right, Randy. All right. Now, calm down. You got some problems. Let's talk about it. If I have to, I'm going to ask security to take you back in the back, Randy.
You stay out of this because you're the only person in the world who's been good to me. But you know this needs to be said, and I'm going to say it. What are you going to do to get me out of here?
I am going to ask security if I have to. I don't want to do that.
Let me tell you,
come on.
He's going to have security get me out of here. What have you ever done? What have you ever done? I've gotten my head busted out of this company. That's security. Bring the security on. You think they can do anything about it? I've gotten his. What can they do to me? They gonna hit me? Are they gonna hit me? Are they gonna hit me?
Come on, Randy.
Listen to the crowd.
James, somebody come do it. Let's take a break. I don't know what's going on here, but that's not Randy. You know, I've got a little girl who's 1 year old,
And out of everybody in this wrestling business, when she turned 1, Randy was the only guy that gave my little girl a present for her birthday.
That's right, because who cares? Get out of here.
Hey, you
come on.
Hey. Now, Randy.
Randy. I had money and I had cars too. I started associating with you.
Yeah.
You're the reason all.
What did I do, Randy? You worked hard at this business. How do you feel? How do you feel that I took all that from you? You took.
That's what Lawler and I talked about in that break. He told
well, look what Lawler said. Lawler talks about my kid.
Having problems.
Lawler talks about 1-year-old little babies, and I tell you what, that'll get your brains beat out. Now, don't listen to him. Who's your friend here? Who's your friend?
You're certainly not. You were my friend when I was the boss and had a Cadillac. You darn sure hadn't been my friend. Have you called me?
Yes, I have, but you are never there. You don't answer your phone. You said you didn't want nobody from the wrestling business calling you. Even when I did call, you were never there, Randy.
The truth of the matter is that you should kiss the ground I walk on, because if it wouldn't have been for me, Wolfie D, you wouldn't be nothing. You'd still be in the hood because I made you. What was made you 13?
Wait a second. You didn't make me. What you did is you gave me opportunity to carry the ball, and I ran with it.
Come on, guys. That Wolfie D.
If it wasn't crazy,
That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying. You're nobody's friend. He's not been your friend. He made you like he said he did. Everything he says is true. You're the stinking liar right here. You're nobody's friend.
You don't need to be out here stirring nothing.
You're more of an idiot than he is. The whole time I've been around wrestling, he was the biggest criminal.
No, you're the idiot.
You always came late. I hate both of y'all. You both.
I've been your friend. He's a backstabber. He's nobody's friend.
Hey, Randy, turn around here. Listen to me for a second. Listen to me for a second.
I'm not going to
listen to me for just a second.
Am I right? Both of these guys
Hey,
are bums. They don't deserve being around.
Hey, I'm trying to tell you, I'm your friend. He's nobody's friend. Hey, he don't even know your friend.
Hey, we still got it. Hey, all right, that's it. That is it. Get him out of here. You two guys too. Both. Look,
come on. I'm standing ready. I'm ready right now. I'm ready right now for you.
All right, let's get out of here. I said it. We're taking a break.
Have you seen Dave that animated?
Now,
all right, it was.
Hey, listen, I've just talked back there to Randy Hales, and now he's, everything that Randy said out there is true. He has lost his car, he's lost his job, he's lost everything. I'm going to make sure that Randy gets to these towns. Randy will be at the matches this week. He's going to be there Monday night. He's going to be, if I have to drive him there personally, I'll get him there. Do you understand?
Well,
Randy, I'm your only friend you got.
After talking to him and filling his head up with all that stuff and having him come down here today, interrupting the
I
program.
didn't have him come
Randy,
down.
Well, you talked to him this past week. And
Randy is our friend too, and you need to keep him under control. Randy obviously needs some help. I'll try to talk to him when we get off
I'll tell you
the
who
air.
needs some help. Brian Christopher and Wolfie D, they're going to need some help Monday night. And handsome Jimmy Valiant, you better watch your step, pal. There's going to be a lot of guys in that battle royal with you Monday night. You could you could be carried out instead of walking out of there.
Oh, boy.
That's right.
Do we have time?
Hey, Randy, come on. Come on, Randy.
Hey,
no. Hey, come on, Randy. No. Hey, we got to get out of here. Talk about what now?
Will you make sure they know?
I told them, Randy.
The truth. It's Wolfie D, it's Brian Christopher, and these two people.
Randy?
Look at them.
No.
They come to TV every week. You know what they did? They tell me, I like this, and I like this, and you shouldn't have this. Dave Brown thinks he's a big shot.
Okay,
You
Randy.
think you're a big shot here?
Randy, come on.
This is not the time for this. Don't do this.
Come on, Randy.
You call me in your office. You call me in
Randy, come on.
Randy, you know that's not the way it goes down now.
Give us the microphone. Come on.
Like the show. He doesn't know nothing about wrestling.
We're out of time. We'll be back next week for Corey Macklin and for Jerry Lawler. I'm Dave Brown. So long, everybody.
The announcers on this program are selected and paid by parties other
Let
than this
me
station,
explain
mainly the
the
promoters.
situation, because how did we get to this? So
How did we get there?
94 and 95, including Memphis Memories 1 and 2, including the Smoky Mountain USWA feud, it all went great. The money was good. Everything was going good. and I was making money and I lived like it. However, making bad choices, and you do bad choices in life. I was drinking every night. I was smoking pot every night. I was snorting cocaine every night. And I was totally out of control. And this is God's gospel. We're a family here on this show. And folks, this is the wrestling business, and it's not elementary school. It's the real life. It's like rock and roll music. I'm not saying everybody involved in wrestling gets being a drunk or being a cokehead or being a pilled head or whatever. But it happens, and it happens in a lot of forms of entertainment. So, because of a lot of reasons, after the big USWA Smoky Mountain feud, business went down, which meant the income went down. And at that point, I needed the stuff, and I needed to buy the stuff that I was buying to live the lifestyle that I was living. And I was doing stuff that could have killed me, and I was doing it every day of my life. And when I did leave the company, however, I was never fired from the job. I told Lawler one Tuesday night in Louisville, and he was there. I said, King, I'm burned out. I need to go back home to Jonesboro. He was so naive and didn't have the boys wasn't going to stooge on me because they'd be stooging on themselves. So that never happened, and Lawler didn't know that part of life. So I just said, I'm burned out and I need to get away, move out of Nashville. I didn't tell him about the car being repoed. I didn't tell him about being kicked out of the apartment. Didn't tell him any of that stuff. Went back to Jonesboro.
Let me pause you right there. So the car repossession and kicking out of the apartment, that happened.
That did happen. Absolutely. Happened. The car happened one night. The next day, I got the being notified that I had a notice to get the hell out of the apartment, which was in Madison. I was living in Madison at that time, so it was a serious situation. When you get in problems like that, people, what you need to do, change places, change people you're around, and change things you do. I came back to Jonesboro, Arkansas in 1996, and that on a Friday. On that following Sunday, I was in church. I got my life straight quickly. Then a couple of months later, I didn't get paid because I wasn't going to the town, but as far as losing the job, I did not. Got back on track and got away. And when I felt that I was ready, I'm thinking, oh, by the way, I could borrow my brother-in-law's truck to make these towns, so I had ways to get to the towns, and our family still owned the home in Jonesboro, the home I grew up in, so that was all taken care of. So I got that done, and when I was ready to go, I wrote out what you just saw and sent it to Law, and I said, I'm ready to come back, but he was still the booker. My mistake is, because I think if I would have said, hey, I'm ready, I just didn't know if I was ready to start booking. I've pretty much thought I'd just do my stuff. So that stuff we saw on that video was great stuff. However, there was nothing planned afterwards, and Lawler was booking, and the stuff that he did, which included the Randy X stuff and all that, we didn't follow up. I think, Pat, we've showed this before. I don't know if I think you've seen it because we've shown it here before. What did you think of the piece of business we just showed?
It's been, Randy, I'm not sure I've ever seen all of that. That was the best piece of work you've ever done. I remember when you announced what you were putting out there, I thought it was the one with you in the sunglasses and the suit.
Randy X, yeah.
Yeah, Randy
That
X.
wasn't my idea. That was Lawler's, and I hated that.
But that was the best piece of work you've ever done that I've ever seen. Now I hadn't seen it all, but that was great, and Dave was great.
And
now,
what was that? 95% shoot?
Maybe 99%.
Yeah.
Hey,
okay.
My favorite promo.
As all Lawler stuff was, right?
What?
Well, y'all just do this and we'll handle it. Isn't that kind of the way he booked?
I don't know what you saying.
I've just heard that when Lawler's booking, like you might get there to TV and he'll say, "Yeah, we got to do something. Why don't you do this and do that?" So
he did it off the top of his head.
Yeah,
he would have a format. He didn't have.
Yeah.
He's the best I've ever seen. That's how he works best. I have to prep. Jerry Jarrett prep. Lawler was the best I've ever seen of just immediately coming up with stuff, and that makes it not seem rehearsed.
Well, I know you haven't known you what 10 years, 8 years, no 7 years. I remember when we first were on the thing together. And there's always truth in great wrestling work. And I could hear some of your truth in that.
Oh yeah, I was a little pissed off at Jerry Jarrett at that time. I wasn't pissed off about Eddie, and that interview ended up hurting his feelings. But I was trying to draw money. He knows better. It wasn't no knock. Really was meant personal, except maybe with the Jerry Jarrett.
The people knew Eddie as an authority figure, and you were bitching about authority.
Right. And I was putting over Lawler, but I knew Lawler was a heel at that point.
Right.
I was knocking
Whoopi with him. Right.
And blaming Whoopi for my problems, he never forced me to do nothing. Absolutely. That was the story in the thing that I was blaming for the issue.
So you quit all of that just cold turkey.
Cold turkey, absolutely, 100% cold turkey, and it was probably 2.5 months till I started booking again, and I think we were headed to the right directions to the more power Larry Burton got. By the way, Larry Burton's first day at Memphis TV was that morning. Didn't know nothing about him. Didn't know nothing about nothing. What was going on, what the plan was. I just know that when I came back through that curtain after the deal, and he said thought he was a big shot Hollywood guy. And you know what he told Lawler, Adam? He said, I'm gonna call Los Angeles and sign him up for an Emmy Award.
Yeah.
I said, I'll take a fucking sellout instead.
Right.
Didn't get either. But that was good stuff. That was really good stuff.
Now, so Larry Burton was just hanging around then. He had not bought in at this point.
No, but the plan was in motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the plan was in motion.
Yeah. Thanks for leaving for 5 weeks, Randy, so that snake could get in.
Yeah.
I always wonder, but you know, that's just we're not going.
It would have happened anyway.
And we're not going to get into that. Pat saying, and that is a hell of a deal. It really is. I see just wrong stuff in the aftermath of it. To set that up, it was good stuff. First time that I was ever a heel. We're going to go to a Randy promo. It's 5:42. Showed this before, and this is, I had been hurt by no good somebody, and you'll see who that is in a minute. I had been carted off in an ambulance about 4 or 5 weeks after that, maybe 6 weeks, and they didn't know that if I was going to die. You know, that's the story, that it was a severe thing, and I made sure after the first week I was at TV, but I'd get there early and leave early, and the people would never leave enough late where there's nobody around, and so the wrestling fans hadn't seen me, and we'll pick up and let me look at the date here. It's show number 75 of Power Pro Wrestling, and it's September the 18th of 1999. As we watch now in our last video on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
A big garbage can, and Randy Hales has jumped in the ring to help Brandon and Wolfie with the big garbage can. He nails him. Throws the can out on top of Jim Cornette.
And throws that tennis racket. He should throw that tennis racket in that garbage can.
Yeah, he should have.
Put Cornette in there and throw all of them out of here.
Cornette.
He slipped up and falls, probably on that pizza that they had laying around the floor.
Randy, says the crowd. Yeah, man, I've never been happier to see him. He's been out for 6 weeks after an injury, thanks to James Cornette. Yeah, just thank you for showing up here, Randy Hales. Back.
I'm proud of this promo.
First thing I want to do, I got to thank two people for holding the fort down the last 6 weeks with me gone. Corey Macklin, thank you, and I want to thank Brandon Baxter. But I think it's obvious to everybody that the owner, that the founder, and the president of Power Pro Wrestling is back, and I'm back in charge, people. Now, I understand there's hundreds of people in the studio today, and I appreciate every one of them. There's a lot of people sitting at home, hundreds of thousands watching TV5 all over the Mid-South watching this, and I appreciate every one of you. But I'm not worried about ratings for the first time in my life. I'm not worried about drawing a house in the New Daisy tonight. What I'm worried about, what I'm thinking about is Jim Cornette. I think most of these people out here are my friends. I think they know that Power Pro Wrestling, people, Power Pro Wrestling has been my dream. Power Pro Wrestling has been my passion. Power Pro Wrestling has been my life. And Jim Cornette tried to take it all away from me. But let me tell you something. If you think for 1 second that I'll let some low down, no good, scum of the earth, backstabbing, egg-sudden, rockin' son of a... take this coming away from me. You don't know Randy Hales very good at all. You don't know him good at all. Now, let me say this, and I want to make this real clear. When you grow up and become a man, you realize there's something in life, some points in your life that you have to take drastic measures to protect something you love. You do it for Margaret. You would do it for the kids. I'd do it for my family. But I would also do it for my business. I would do it for Power Pro Wrestling. And about 6 weeks ago, after about 20 years of coming to this station at 8 o'clock on Saturday mornings, and then 1 o'clock getting in the car and leaving, you know what happened? You were here. I was carried out to a stretcher on an ambulance and out to Baptist East. We went to the hospital. That's exactly what happened to me. But Jim Cornette, if you think that was the last Randy Hales would ever be seen on Memphis television, you're stupider than you look, and that's for sure. Now, there's an old Jim Croce song, Dave, and I'll butcher the lines here, but I love this song and I think it's great. The song talks about there's things in life you don't do. It says that you don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't spit in the wind. You don't mess with the mask of the old Lone Ranger. And Jim Cornette, you're going to find out you don't try to screw me out of Power Pro Wrestling. That's for sure.
All right.
Now, when it comes down to this, the mystery opponent is no mystery. It's going to be me. Yeah, I'm going to ask Brandon Baxter to keep Kevin Christian out of it. I'm going to ask Kelly Warren, Wolf Whoopie, and all my friends to make sure it's me and you, Jim Cornette. And this is not going to be Jack Briscoe and Terry Funk. This is not going to be a technical wrestling match. This is going to be a fight. Now, I grew up in Jonesboro, Arkansas, where there were street fights. You grew up in your mother's house practicing tennis lessons, Jimmy Cornette. It's a fight between me and you. Now, I want to say one more thing. It's no secret. On Wednesday night in my church, I'm a youth minister, and I teach the kids, and I try to teach them the right things. This past week, our lesson was on hate, and I'm not going to come out and say I hate you, Jim Cornette, but what I'm going to come out and tell you, Jim Cornette, is tonight at the new Daisy Theater, Randy Hales and Jim Cornette. There's no way, Jim Cornette, I'm laying down for you. You're in for a fight, and you're not equipped to handle it, and that's a fact.
That's the words from the founder, the owner, and the president of Power Pro Wrestling. He's the mystery man. He'll be going against Jim Cornette tonight, and we'll be back.
Last segment of the show, and before we go to Pat, and I'm anxious to hear what Pat has to say, our resident Power Pro expert. Your thoughts on that, Adam?
So I think we might have just watched back-to-back your best USWA and your best Power Pro segments ever, I would say. Good stuff, fantastic stuff, and having Jim Cornette not even in studio, not even there that week, but showing what had happened the week before, and then you having the ability to, again, it's cutting a promo without cutting a promo, right? Just tell the story, telling what's going on, and what's going to be going on at the new Daisy, and Dave did a great job. He's going to be and even Corey off screen. Randy's going to, just fantastic stuff.
Pat, your thoughts?
I agree with Adam. That was the two best pieces of promos I've ever seen you cut ever, and it's interesting because they were two totally different situations. And I had never seen either one of them, I don't think. But the one with Cornette I agree with you, Richard. That's some really, really, really good work.
That the best babyface promo I ever did, and for sure.
Yeah. Now, just to pull the curtain back a little bit, how much of that did you have in your mind when you started talking?
I knew that I wanted to do I didn't have any order at all. I knew that I was going to say the words to the Jim Cornette, the Jim Croce song. Don't pull on Superman. I knew that. I knew that's basically it. That's basically it. I wanted to see how they'd react to me.
Yeah.
And that's one thing you can say for damn sure watching that. There was crowd.
They reacted. Yeah, they reacted to that for sure. For sure. You had everybody in that studio in your pocket when you walked out of there. You really did.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it just felt good.
It was go home for the Daisy show, right?
Yeah, and I've left that set and many times and think that sucked. Yeah. You know when you hit a home run and you know when you struck out. And unless you're Jerry Lawler, there's nobody out there that hadn't struck out except for him. Right?
Yeah.
It's just real good work. Adam, thanks for setting in. And I want to remind everybody, no shows because of the holidays. The next 2 weeks, we'll return on Tuesday night, January the 6th. Merry Christmas to everybody. What did you think about today's show, Adam? And you're looking forward to a couple of weeks off. You took a week off last week. Anyway.
Well, I was driving down south of Montgomery for a work situation last week. But yeah, looking forward to the couple weeks off. I think it's always nice to take a little time off around the holidays. We'll come back strong next year. Yeah, of course, anytime we do anything, this is, my two passions, local Memphis wrestling and local Memphis television. And tonight covered the gamut all the way across. It's great. I didn't get to sit and watch with everybody the Tom Prestigiacomo and Dave Brown interview last week, so it was nice to sit and watch it, get reaction as we went through it, and just kind of get reminded of some of the things that, again, it was really neat to hear Dave's story. And for that to be just a WKNO special about Dave, it was nice that it had so much wrestling in it in just that 30 minutes. It just shows how much that the wrestling was such a big part of Dave's life, in addition to the weather as well. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. And then for us to see those two really good pieces of work from USWA and Power Pro, and here it is, 10 till. We've already gone through 2 hours, guys.
Great show. I loved it. I'm going to let right now the nicest person on the screen, Pat Trammell. I'm going to let Pat tell Team Hales, tell our audience exactly what we as a group think about our audience, and then I'm going to let Pat take it back to me, and I'll get us off the air with Adam punching the button.
Oh, and in that case,
audience, Pat.
There I go, Pat.
Well, I mean, that's a tall order. I can tell you, for me personally, this is one of my favorite things and my favorite people to do. I don't want to stretch it too much, but I don't think I am. We're a family here, and we care about each other, and we're united in our passion for old school Memphis wrestling. And I consider everybody here a great friend and care about you and your families. And it's just good to be back. I probably have overscheduled my life for probably 35 years now, and but I do miss having to do this. And I'm glad we'll get a couple weeks off, but right after the first of the year, I should be back. But love all of you. Appreciate all you are in my life and our life, and look forward to a great next year.
All right, folks. For all of us, we wish everybody a Merry Christmas. We'll return on January 6th. Merry Christmas, everybody. Randy Hales, Pat Trammell, and Adam Bunn with the Lance Russell microphone saying bye-bye, everybody.
And paid by parties other than this station, namely the promoters of USWA Championship Wrestling.